Babes, welcome back. We love you. We see you. And honestly, reunions are where everyone suddenly remembers everything they said 6 months ago and somehow has a completely different version of events.
It is genuinely a completely inverted moral universe. Like, navigating these couches requires a degree in forensic psychology just as much as it requires a Bravo subscription.
Which is exactly why I have a dangerously strong, spicy margarita sitting right in front of me. Because to you, our amazing listener, we are so thrilled to welcome you back to the Snark side.
The only place where Bravo is religion, chaos is our currency, and messy people making highly questionable life decisions keep us spiritually fulfilled.
Yes. Today, we aren't just doing a basic recap. We're dissecting the sheer, unadulterated chaos of the Valley Season 3, Episode 20 reunion.
No, it's a bloodbath.
A literal bloodbath. And we are pulling receipts from everywhere. The official recaps, the absolute war zone that is the Bravo subreddits, and all the granular meta-analysis from the Showman's pod.
We are getting into all of it. Postpartum survival, financial deception, and the frankly terrifying ecosystem of toxic fandoms.
But before we get into the trauma of reality television, I have to talk about my own personal trauma today.
Oh, God, what happened at the clinic? Please tell me it wasn't the veneer guy again.
Bestie, it was the veneer guy. He came in at 10 a.m., and I swear to you, he brought a picture of a porcelain toilet bowl and said, "I want them this white."
Stop it! A toilet bowl!
I am not joking. I had to look this grown man in the eye as a medical professional and explain that if we make his teeth that opaque, he's going to look like he has chiclets glued to his gums.
I mean, we love a glow-in-the-dark chic aesthetic, right? You should have just done it. Let him glow at the club.
I can't. It compromises my artistic integrity as a dentist. I was literally spiraling. I went to dental school for a decade to argue with a crypto bro about the color spectrum of white.
Honestly, that is way less dramatic than my dating life right now. Remember that guy I was talking to? The one with the golden retriever?
Wait, the one who said he was an entrepreneur but really just sold essential oils?
Yes, him. So he finally asked me out on a proper date, and he suggested we go for a hike.
Oh, absolutely not. No.
Exactly. I was like, a hike on a first date? I don't want to sweat and, like, potentially get murdered in a canyon while you talk about the healing properties of lavender.
A hike is just a free date for a man who doesn't want to buy you a spicy margarita. It is a massive red flag.
Right. So I politely declined and said I prefer a cocktail, and he unmatched me.
Shut up. He unmatched you.
Literally vanished.
Yeah.
The trash took itself out. But it just annoyed me so much. Like, the audacity of men in the city is unhinged.
Well, speaking of the unhinged audacity of men, I think we have our perfect transition. Because if you thought the essential oil guy was bad, we need to talk about the men on this reunion couch.
Oh, the team toxic husbands. It is time.
Let's start with the most visceral, deeply uncomfortable dynamic on that stage. The absolute fracture at the honeymoon phase for Luke and Kristen.
The backlash against Luke right now is bordering on historic for a rookie cast member. Like, Reddit is eating him alive.
And they should. I was screaming at my television. Let's look at the behind-the-scenes revelation that Andy brought up, the Watch What Happens Live trip.
Right. So for context, for anyone who doesn't know, when you go to New York to film Watch What Happens Live, that is the pinnacle of the Bravo promotional tour.
So Victory Lap.
Exactly. Couples almost universally do this together, especially when one is a reality TV veteran like Kristen and the other is just some newcomer.
But Luke didn't want the victory lap with his fiancée. He told producers off camera, by the way, so we totally thought he was being sneaky, that he would only go on the talk show if Kristen was banned from appearing with him.
Because he needed a break.
A break? He wanted to enjoy New York City without her and their newborn baby, Kaya. And the plan was his mom was going to come watch the baby in the hotel room while Kristen just, sat in the dark?
The logistics make zero sense, which is why Kristen's revelation on the couch was so devastating.
She was literally dabbing tears from her eyes.
I know. She admitted that Luke looked at her and said, I want to go to dinner, and I want to enjoy New York, and I can't enjoy New York if you and Kaya are there.
The entire room went dead silent. You could hear a pin drop. How do you say that to the mother of your newborn child?
Well, analytically speaking, it isn't just a diva moment. It's not a rookie getting a big head. That is a glaring neon indicator of a partner seeking an active exit strategy.
Oh, 100%.
He is explicitly stating that the mere presence of his partner and infant is a barrier to his joy. In the crucible of new parenthood, that is a profound statement of resentment.
I hear that, but let me play devil's advocate for 1 second.
Yeah.
The first year of parenthood is basically a medically induced trauma bond. You aren't sleeping. Your hormones are crashing.
Sure, they admitted to battling postpartum depression and rage.
Right. So is there a world where the internet is just crucifying a man who was dangerously sleep-deprived and desperately, clumsily asking for 24 hours to just be a human being?
If we were looking at that request in a vacuum, absolutely. Saying, I am burning out, I need a weekend away, is actually healthy boundary setting. But we don't have a vacuum.
No, we have a whole season of receipts.
We have a pattern. We have to couple that New York request with his comments during the actual season. Specifically, the moment he stated he wanted to lock pregnant Kristen in a box and bury it.
Which is horrifying. Who says that on camera?
It moves past burnout and into systemic avoidance and contempt. When Andrew pressed him about whether he would have proposed if they hadn't gotten pregnant, Luke couldn't even fake a yes.
He literally stammered. He was like, that's a hard thing to try to, make up in my mind.
And then he dropped the quote that broke the Bravo internet. He shrugged and said, I wouldn't break up with her.
Oh my God. Jasmine sitting right next to him audibly murmured, yikes.
Because I wouldn't break up with her is the death knell of romance. It is the ultimate expression of passive compliance.
It's quiet quitting. He is quiet quitting his marriage. And Reddit is entirely convinced that Luke is attempting to force Kristen to initiate the breakup.
Classic passive-aggressive exit strategy. He does the bare minimum, makes cruel comments, and creates a hostile environment. Also, Kristen finally hits her breaking point and pulls the plug.
Right, because he knows he's on camera. If he aggressively dumps a postpartum Kristen, who is franchise royalty, he is the ultimate villain.
Exactly. By dragging his feet and making her miserable, he's producing a narrative where they are just incompatible rather than him being the bad guy who abandoned his family.
But the audience isn't buying it. The Showman's podcasters pointed out that there's this dark, oppressive cloud over their house whenever the cameras are there. They don't even seem to like each other.
And yet, Kristen is the one fiercely defending him on the couch, claiming they are in heavy therapy and their sex life is better than ever.
It breaks my heart. It's performative stability.
It's a tragic manifestation of the sunk cost fallacy. She has defended him to the audience, to her friends, to herself. Admitting the foundation is rotting while holding a newborn is terrifying.
So she overcompensates. We see it all the time with our friends. The one who posts glowing Instagram tributes to a guy who treats her like garbage behind closed doors.
Exactly. And speaking of performative stability, we have to pivot to the other half of the team toxic husbands. Because emotional evasion isn't always quiet like Luke.
Sometimes it's loud, aggressive, and wrapped in a PR-friendly apology.
The accountability paradox of Danny.
Yes. Oh my God, Danny and Nia.
Yeah.
During the season, Nia was preparing for that drag pageant, and the grace she showed was astounding. But Danny's behavior, viscerally uncomfortable.
He was incredibly harsh, the dismissiveness. And then on the reunion couch, he deployed a very specific strategic apology.
He fell right on his sword. He looked at Nia and said, I was a monster. I was a complete nightmare.
On paper, it looks like a massive win. He takes the hit. But you have to look at the second half of the paragraph.
The excuses.
Right. He accepts the title of monster, but immediately initiates a massive diffusion of responsibility. He blames it on a perfect storm of external factors.
The stress of raising 4 under 4. The lack of sleep. The stress of dealing with Janet and Jason. And, of course, the alcohol.
It's the ultimate bait and switch. I'm so sorry I did this, but also the universe forced my hand.
It weaponizes their situation. Like, nobody is denying that raising twins and 2 toddlers is demanding. But he uses it as a human shield.
By his logic, his verbal abuse isn't a reflection of how he views his wife. It is merely a tragic symptom of an impossible logistical situation.
But Jasmine saw right through it. Jasmine was the MVP of that segment. She flat out called out the men for using their kids as an excuse for terrible behavior.
And Reddit erupted in applause. There's a comment that said, the more realistic parents don't use their kids as an excuse. It's always the most miserable parents who never shut up about the difficulty.
Jasmine dismantled him. But notice Nia's reaction. She was visibly uncomfortable and actually called Jasmine dramatic for pushing the issue.
Which is wild because Nia was brought to tears earlier in the season just because people saw Danny's underwear at a party. She cares deeply about decorum.
So why is she silencing the only person defending her?
Because Nia is actively prioritizing the survival of the family's public image over her own vindication. She is protecting the husband.
If she validates Jasmine, she's admitting the apology is hollow.
Exactly. So to fix the marriage, Danny announced they hired a live-in au pair, and he claimed he's reevaluating his relationship with alcohol.
He made a huge point to say he didn't drink at Jasmine's wedding. But I have to ask you, with your analytical brain, about this whole alcohol and stress defense.
Let's get into it.
Is alcohol actually a catalyst that magically installs abusive behavior into a good person? Or is it just a truth serum that strips away the filter, hiding the disrespect that was already there?
Clinical psychology leans heavily toward the truth serum theory. Alcohol lowers inhibitions and impairs executive function.
Right.
It does not magically generate new belief systems or a vocabulary of disrespect that didn't previously exist. No. If you view your partner as an equal, alcohol might make you clumsy or annoying. If you harbor subconscious resentment, alcohol just removes the polite filter.
A Reddit user literally summarized that perfectly. They said, Danny gets drunk and mean because Danny wants to get drunk and be mean. Being drunk just made what he already believes about women come out.
And we saw that belief system fully exposed during the debate over the 6-week postpartum rule.
Oh, don't even get me started on the 6-week rule. I was raging.
It was the most revealing 5 minutes of the entire reunion.
So both Danny and Luke complained on camera about the standard medical directive to wait 6 weeks postpartum before having sex. They whined about it being frustrating.
The entitlement required to voice that complaint on camera is staggering.
Think about the physical reality. You have pushed a human out of your body or had major abdominal surgery. Your organs are rearranging themselves. You're bleeding.
And waking up every 2 hours.
And the person who is supposed to be protecting you is pouting because 6 weeks is an inconvenience to his sex life. Are you joking?
It strips away the curated veneer of the stressed-out dad and exposes a stark, fundamental lack of empathy. His partner's physical trauma is secondary to his immediate gratification.
And this ties directly into the privilege dynamic that Reddit was calling out. The straight white male privilege of Bravo.
It's heavily skewed.
Guys like Luke, Jesse, and Danny exhibit horrific behavior, and they are handled with kid gloves. Andy Cohen gently guides them through their apologies.
But the moment a woman or a person of color like Jasmine steps out of line, they are held to a viciously harsh standard.
Danny throws around buzzwords like au pair and therapy, and he is immediately redeemed.
But an au pair only solves the logistical stress of childcare. It does not cure the underlying disrespect. You cannot outsource empathy to an au pair.
You cannot outsource empathy. Put that on a t-shirt. I love that. But emotional evasion and outsourcing childcare is just the tip of the iceberg.
Because while they are hiding behind stress, another cast member is allegedly hiding a massive amount of cash.
Yes. We have to talk about the financial fallout of Jesse and Michelle's divorce. This is where the narrative shifts from psychology to forensic accounting.
The paper trail is so messy. The conflict revolves around a $300,000 small business administration loan.
Which, by the way, usually requires strict business plans and collateral. But Jesse allegedly put this massive government-backed loan directly into a personal account.
And Michelle claimed she had absolutely no idea. It was entirely hidden.
Which is a staggering sum of money to be unaccounted for when you are actively negotiating a divorce.
Jesse's defense on the couch was purely aggressive deflection. He didn't explain the accounting. He just called Michelle a liar and a cheater.
And Michelle shot back. She demanded he pull up the bank statements right there. And then she brought up the ballet school.
The ballet school decline is such a fascinating microdrama.
Jesse's credit card was declined at their daughter's ballet school. His excuse: it was a Chase fraud alert.
Which Andy immediately fact-checked. Andrew pointed out that his card was also declined on camera during the season.
I compared Jesse's financial explanations to corporate compartmentalization. You know when a CEO uses shell companies to isolate toxic debt?
Oh, completely.
Jesse is treating his marriage to Michelle like a failing subsidiary. He's moving assets, hiding liabilities, and when the auditors, Michelle and Andy, come knocking, he just screams about fraud alerts.
It's a financial shell game. Keep the cup moving so fast the audience loses track of the money, and then we throw Lacey into the mix.
Oh, Lacey. Jesse's new partner. She came out onto that stage ready for war.
She was swinging for the fences. She fiercely defended him, saying he never asks her for money.
She dropped the line, "I would rather light myself on fire than pay for a man."
But then she totally overplayed her hand.
She accused the other women of being misogynistic for implying she bankrolls Jesse or that she's a social climber.
Which is a highly strategic, though entirely incorrect, deployment of social justice terminology.
The Showman's podcasters and the Reddit community ripped her apart for this, Calling someone a social climber isn't misogynistic. It's literally the foundational trope of reality television.
It's an equal opportunity accusation. She was trying to intellectualize a standard Bravo feud to make Michelle look like a bigot.
It was so transparent, and the Showman's podcast perfectly articulated why her defense of Jesse is so hollow. They said Lacey is currently experiencing the customer service representative version of Jesse.
I am obsessed with that framing. It explains the entire dynamic.
It's brilliant. She is in the pristine honeymoon phase. She lives in OC, he lives in LA. They don't share a mortgage.
They don't share an SBA loan. They aren't co-parenting a toddler who needs ballet tuition.
She has zero financial stakes. Of course, it's easy for her to say he's so generous because she only sees the curated dating version of him.
Michelle had to deal with the reality of a marriage and a husband who treats their joint finances like a personal slush fund. Lacey just goes to dinner in West Hollywood.
But this brings up a fascinating sociological question. Why do fans so easily forgive massive bad behavior like hiding $300,000, but crucify someone for rolling their eyes?
It comes down to the psychology of relatability, abstract versus visceral empathy.
Explain that, because I need to understand why people care more about thrown drinks than fraud.
Financial fraud, SBA loans, routing numbers, these are abstract concepts. They don't trigger an immediate emotional response unless you are an accountant.
Okay, true.
The audience intellectually knows it's bad, but they don't feel it in their gut. But the interpersonal drama, that is universally translatable.
We all know what it feels like to be spoken down to.
Exactly. Every person watching knows the sting of a passive-aggressive snub or a friend gossiping behind their back. We react with volcanic intensity to emotional transgressions because they trigger our own real-world memories.
That makes so much sense. We can't relate to losing $300,000, but we've all survived a toxic dinner party.
Which perfectly bridges us to the darkest part of this deep dive, because that audience reaction has mutated into something genuinely dangerous.
The toxic fandoms. We saw a moment on the couch that actually shocked me. Janet and Danny called a truce.
Their feud all season was Shakespearean in its pettiness.
Janet literally threw a drink at him. She compared him to Charles Manson, which is a wildly unhinged escalation of rhetoric.
It was reality TV gold, but logically absurd.
But despite all of that, they bonded over the extreme online hate they both received. Danny apologized for liking negative posts about her, and Janet completely broke down.
She was weeping. She said she wouldn't wish that dark online hate, which included literal death threats on anyone.
Death threats.
Yeah.
Over a Bravo show. It forces us to confront the ethics of this entire fandom.
The Reddit communities were actually doing some deep self-reflection on this. They pointed out a massive double standard in how the hostility is distributed.
Think about it. Danny received hate because he was verbally abusive to his wife, and there were allegations of inappropriate behavior.
His actions had tangible, identifiable victims on the screen. He inflicted emotional damage.
But Janet received death threats because the audience found her personality annoying. She was a pot stirrer.
She was executing the job description of a reality television cast member.
A user on Reddit, Floribunda Roses, summarized the sheer misogyny beautifully. They wrote, Danny was hated because he spoke to his wife monstrously, and Janet was hated because people just don't like her. Neither deserved it, but it doesn't take much for a woman versus a man.
The threshold for vitriol directed at women is astonishingly low. It reveals a deep societal bias.
Janet acted like a classic villain. She meddled. She clutched her pearls. For that, fans threatened her life.
While Danny exhibited emotionally abusive behavior and received a tremendous amount of coddling from Andy and the cast, who bought his stress excuse.
But let's dig into why Janet triggered the audience so intensely. The Showman's podcast had a brilliant critique. They noted she suffers from Karen energy.
Meaning she is constantly producing the show from within the cast. Performative authenticity.
Yes. They cited the moment Michelle was complaining about Lacey, and Janet just chimes in unprompted with, do you want peace or not?
She doesn't want peace. She wants to produce a dramatic moment. She wants to be the center of the conflict while pretending to be the enlightened peacemaker hovering above it.
And that performative nature shatters the parasocial contract with the audience. We watch these shows under the illusion of observing genuine reactions.
When you can see the gears turning in their head as they secure screen time, the audience feels manipulated, and they react with disproportionate anger because the illusion broke.
It makes you think. We take flawed people, put them in a pressure cooker, ply them with alcohol, and demand they bleed for our entertainment.
And when they try to control how they bleed, the audience sends death threats.
Exactly. So I have to ask you, Because they sign contracts and get hefty paychecks, are fans justified? Or has this relationship mutated into something pathological?
It has undoubtedly crossed a line into pathology. Signing a contract does not equate to signing away your right to physical safety.
Right.
When sending a death threat over a thrown drink becomes normalized behavior within a fandom, the culture itself is sick. We're watching gladiators, but the spectators are losing their humanity.
Wow, that is chilling. Why would anyone with self-preservation stay in this arena? Which leads us to the final part of the reunion. The veterans and the ticking clocks.
Let's talk about Zack. He provided perhaps the only moment of genuine, unproduced vulnerability on that stage.
He really did. Zack revealed his boyfriend Benji gave him a strict one-year ultimatum to agree to a surrogacy process, and it expires in January.
Ultimatums regarding bringing human life into the world are incredibly high stakes and, frankly, manipulative.
And Zack was so honest, no PR spin. He admitted he lacks financial stability. The thought of bringing a child into his chaos makes him panic.
And the fans pointed out the physical reality of his finances. He doesn't even own a couch in his apartment.
It's all basic IKEA furniture. And he frequently borrows money from Kristen.
Which adds massive context to why he's so blindly loyal to her. She is essentially his bank.
But the fans were overwhelmingly supportive of his hesitation.
Yeah.
People were like, how can you be on Bravo for 3 years and not afford a couch? Open the checkbook, Andy.
Beyond the Bravo pay scale, Zack is displaying psychological maturity that stands in stark contrast to his castmates.
Right. While everyone else is taking out hidden lungs and using kids to fix broken marriages, Zack is hitting the brakes.
He acknowledges that love is not enough to raise a child. You need infrastructure.
His lack of furniture is a profound metaphor. He's being demanded to build a family when he hasn't even built his own living room.
He is literally sitting on the floor of his life, and Benji is demanding a baby.
Do ultimatums ever actually work for things like children? Or do they just breed resentment?
They almost universally plant a toxic seed of resentment. If Zack agrees because he's terrified of losing Benji, the stress of parenthood will shatter them.
An ultimatum turns a partnership into a hostage situation.
It forces compliance but bypasses consensus. It's a recipe for an explosive divorce 5 years down the line.
Speaking of divorce and veterans navigating disasters, we got updates from Lala and Schwartz.
Lala discussed her high-conflict co-parenting with Randall, communicating solely through a court-ordered app.
A sobering reminder of the long-term consequences. The cameras fade, but the court-ordered apps remain for 18 years.
And Schwartz casually announced selling his 2.5% stake in TomTom. He made his money back and is moving on.
But the commentators had sharp words for Lala's performance this season. They felt she was misusing her veteran status, playing a Karen role.
She acted as a bulldog for the weaker cast members, like defending Janet, instead of bringing her own authentic storyline.
It's the danger of being a veteran. You learn how to produce yourself. You stir the pot for others so the camera stays on you, but deflect the emotional risk.
Lala was fighting Janet's battles, securing her paycheck, but protecting her own unedited reality.
She's playing chess while everyone is playing checkers.
Yeah.
But the audience wants checkers. We want raw emotion, not a highly produced strategy.
Which brings us to the core tension.
Okay, it's time for our Snark side segments. We have to officially hand out our verdicts. Segment 1, Reunion MVP. Who had the best performance?
I have to give it to Jasmine. She was the only one consistently holding the men accountable without screaming. She dismantled Danny's au pair defense with surgical precision.
I agree, Jasmine is the MVP. Biggest villain, I mean, it'd have to be Luke, right?
Without a doubt. The "I wouldn't break up with her" comment cemented his villain origin story for the next decade of Bravo.
Most delusional moment. For me, it's Lacey claiming the term social climber is a misogynistic slur.
Oh, highly delusional. She thought she was giving a TED Talk, and she was just giving a masterclass and missing the point.
Segment 2, Receipt or Revisionist History. The $300,000 SBA loan.
Pure revisionist history on Jesse's part. He tried to rewrite the narrative by screaming about fraud alerts, but the math does not math.
He conveniently forgot where $350,000 went. Segment 3, Friendship Court. The Janet and Danny truce. Do we buy it?
The weakest argument is that they suddenly respect each other. They don't. The strongest argument is that trauma bonding over internet death threats is a powerful unifier.
My verdict? It's an alliance of convenience. They will be feuding again by episode 3 of next season.
Absolutely.
Finally, what happens next? Give me your most ridiculous prediction that somehow feels possible.
Zack and Benji break up, Zack moves in with Kristen, and Luke actively tries to charge Zack rent to force both of them out of the house.
Oh my God, that is so dark and so completely plausible. I predict Lacey actually watches the season back, realizes she is in the customer service phase, and dumps Jesse on camera for the screen time.
We can only hope.
All right, babes, that brings us to our final provocative thought for you to mull over. Reality TV is designed to show us the truth of human interaction.
But after seeing Luke manipulate his appearances, Jesse play a shell game, and cast members filtering their words because of literal death threats.
We have to ask, when subjects are obsessively tracking their brand to survive toxic fandoms, does the camera eventually destroy the reality it's documenting?
Are we watching real lives or a deeply traumatizing survival game where the only prize is relevance?
If you know 1 million people are judging you, you stop living your life and start performing it.
The observer effect in full swing.
So, who won the reunion? Who needs to apologize? And whose side are you actually on? Let us know. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Stay messy, stay opinionated, and we'll see you on the Snark side.